Everyone. I'm so happy to see you again, all, for our Facebook Live today. Today, our topic that we're going to discuss about is food allergies. Such a common word, though, right? That we hear everywhere these days. It's almost become our new normal. I'm sure many of you have heard from your kids' school that the school is a nut-free zone because of kids who are allergic to nuts. And more people are having allergies to gluten, dairy, nuts, strawberries, apples, kiwi, seeds, yada, yada, yada. Just the long list of things that people are becoming allergic to, and having allergy testing done is becoming more and more and more every day. So, what are food allergies? And are we supposed to have them? Is it normal to be allergic to food? Have you ever thought about it? So I kind of want to address these questions specifically. But before that, I have to tell you a funny story. So one day when my daughter was 6 years old, she came to me and she asked me what she was allergic to. I said nothing, and she wasn't having any of it. She said, but I must be, right? Everybody is allergic to something, so I must be allergic to something. I said, it's not normal to have allergies, and you're healthy, so you don't have one. So then what she did was she would go out, and if there is pollen in the air, she would sneeze a couple times, and she'll come back and tell me that, see, I'm sneezing, so I must be allergic to pollen. And I said, no, that's normal because you were exposed to something that you weren't exposed to before that. So your body's reacting to it by producing sneezing and eliminating the pollen, which is not called as allergies unless you have symptoms all through. It's normal. And she was just so disappointed that she couldn't actually tell her friends that she had some allergy. I mean, it's funny that she asked me that question, but it's sad that this has become a new normal, and most people have accepted that and feel that there must be something like this that should be happening to them, and this is what's supposed to happen. So, what are food allergies? First, food allergies are caused by the immune system not identifying food as that. So it considers food now as a foreign body and reacts severely to it. That's what we call as food allergies. It can go anywhere from just having hives to having a full-blown anaphylaxis. So when we say anaphylaxis, they are life-threatening allergic reaction that can even cause death. Many a times people would have seen swelling in their lips, swelling of their tongue, swelling of their throat, which means that they cannot breathe anymore. And of course, it can be all over the body. It can be just the parts that they touched. So it can just be, if let's say that they touched peanut, then they can actually have, a reaction on their hand. Or if they put it in their mouth, they can have a reaction right here, or they can have it all over systemically. Even, for example, I'm just going to go away from this particular food allergy topic and talk about even allergies to animals and so on and so forth, which have become pretty common as well. And people tell me that, if they're around cats, they react to it. If they're around dogs, they react to it. They have hives, they have wheezing, they cannot breathe, and so on and so forth. So all of this is caused by the immune system reacting abnormally to the things that we shouldn't be reacting to. So food allergies are not normal, or any allergy for that matter is not normal. So we shouldn't be having allergies. So if we had had allergies all through human evolution, we would have become extinct a long time ago. We wouldn't be here because every time it can actually cause life-threatening symptoms. Think about it, right? We have EpiPen now for anaphylaxis. We didn't have EpiPen many years ago. So people would have just dropped dead everywhere. So this is definitely more of a new phenomenon. I mean, we should be thankful for the things that can actually save us today. But at the same time, we shouldn't become completely naive and accept that this is a normal and carry around EpiPen. We should be really actively addressing this problem and healing our bodies so we don't have that. So what are the causes of food allergies? There are many, many. There are many, many factors that causes food allergies. Chemicals in our food. We have weed killers in our food. For example, if you heard gluten allergy. I mean, some people are really, they produce antibodies against it, which we call as celiac. But many people don't have any antibodies circulating, but they still experience symptoms with wheat. And one of the things that actually contributes to that is Roundup, weed killers. So these weed killers are sprayed on our foods, of course, to prevent the growth of weeds, but also some of them actually help in the drying process and in the harvesting process. So of course, plants, just like us, anything that we put on our skin, we absorb it within a few seconds. So if you look at plants, of course, they are alive. They are alive. So when they are alive, they are going to absorb everything that's sprayed on them, especially in a liquid form, just like water. I mean, water enters the plant through capillary action. Somehow we fool ourselves that pesticides and chemicals that are sprayed on our plants don't get in there. We just have to wash them, scrub them with soap or whatever, and it just comes off our, just dip them in apple cider vinegar for so long, it'll just become a brand new fruit. The thing is that will get absorbed too, but you're not going to take out those kinds of things. So the kind of foods that we eat, it's so essential that we eat naturally grown foods that don't have chemicals sprayed on them. These things can cause havoc in our gut and in turn cause havoc to our immune system. And then our body stops recognizing the same things as food because they're laden with chemicals that your body just reacts to them. And now we have allergies and sensitivities to those kinds of foods. So that's a number one thing, because we do eat food on a regular basis. We put this 3 times a day, more, 4, 5, 6 times a day sometimes. So we really have to pay attention to that. And I hear the concern of people talking about organic food being expensive and so on and so forth. Of course, with demand, there's more demand, the prices come down. So more and more people, if they choose to buy naturally grown foods, there will be more demand for more growth of that. And farmers will go far away from actually putting chemicals on their food because nobody's buying them. And they would actually invest in making naturally grown foods possible, which means that it bring the cost down. But even otherwise, if you have an allergy that could cause anaphylaxis, is it worth carrying around an EpiPen, or is it worth investing in your health through your diet, through your food? I mean, something to think about. So the next thing that actually contributes to food allergies is the medications. I mean, we as a society are heavily medicated, whether it be things that are safe as Tylenol and ibuprofen to antibiotics. That's in our water, that's in our foods, that's in our system, that because we are actually medicated with them often. I mean, so many kids have been on many courses of antibiotics before the age of 2, 3, 4. And it has been actually shown that not just antibiotics alone, but even painkillers like Tylenol and ibuprofen, steroids, even these kinds of things can change the gut bacteria, the flora that we have, and kill or reduce some of the bacterial flora in our gut. And so this is a huge concern because half of our digestion takes place because of the bacteria in our gut. Our digestive system does not digest everything that we eat on its own. It actually seeks the help of the bacterial flora in our gut. So when we have these kinds of things that remove or eliminate completely the kind of bacteria that we need, then you cannot expect your body to be able to digest and absorb the nutrients from it. Now your body is going to have to reject it because it can't digest it. So that's the next thing. And of course, eating, a poor diet that has no nutrition or less nutrition and is full of preservatives, colors, highly refined foods like pastries, cakes, candies, and just the concept that we have to some extent, the number of calories in versus the number of calories out versus an amount of nutrients in, and the kind of health that we have as an output. We have a very different concept. And even many people, when they actually try to lose weight, there are so many diets out there, isn't it, that actually talks about, oh, you can eat all the desserts that you want. You can eat all the pizza you want. You can eat all the burgers you want. Count the points. count the calories instead of actually talking about wholesome nutrition. It's sad that we have come to this point of counting numbers to eat rather than actually eating wholesome foods, because those things can again change the gut bacteria, and when it does, now you cannot actually digest and absorb certain kinds of foods anymore. I mean, there are, of course, digestive issues like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, and so on and so forth that can also cause havoc, causing you to not be able to digest certain kinds of foods, absorb nutrients from them. And because of that, it can cause food allergies. Another thing that I want to insist and talk about here is fermented foods. So for the longest period of time, the humankind has been eating fermented foods, right? Because we didn't have refrigeration until recently. So until then, people had to preserve food in one way or another. So the ways to do it is either fermented or dehydrated. So these were the ways that you can preserve food. Otherwise, you cannot store food. So fermentation has been something that we have been doing for long periods of time in the human evolution. And now most of our foods are devoid of that. So, when we talk about fermented foods, most people talk about yogurt, and that's the only fermented food most people eat. So when we eat only yogurt, and again, we have talked about dairy in our previous Facebook lives as to how if you consume a lot of dairy, how it can cause certain kinds of symptoms and so on and so forth, because it's not really nutrient that's necessary after the age of 2. But so if that is all the kind of bacteria-rich food that you're eating, fermented food that you're eating, then you should definitely kind of go around and see all different kinds of fermented foods and eat them, because that can actually put back the kind of bacteria that we lose on a regular basis. I mean, every time we have a bowel movement, we lose some of the bacteria. So we need to be putting this back on a regular basis, not something that we just do occasionally. We just don't eat it on occasion. We eat cakes on occasion. We don't eat fermented foods on occasion. And I know that many people actually take probiotic capsules and probiotic pills, but I'm always a big proponent of eating fermented foods rather than take it as capsule or a pill. And the reason behind that is that the kind of bacteria that grows in your environment when you make it at home is also going to be in the fermented food, which means that these bacteria are already friends with your body and they know what to do. They can actually easily take that space in your gut and can strengthen your immune system and thereby preventing food allergies even. So if you are able to make fermented foods at home, make it a part of your diet, a wholesome diet, and eat them on a regular basis. Also, another thing that I always have with pills is that the capsules only have so many different strains of bacteria. So they are cultured. They're cultured and then they are put in a capsule. So they only have certain types of bacteria. One of the things that's been found with research is that a good immune system is a result of diversity of bacteria, not just the number of bacteria in the gut. So that is, it doesn't matter whether it's 50 billion, 100 billion culture of bacteria, it's the number of strains of bacteria that's present along with the number of bacteria that actually strengthens the immune system. So what you want is, you don't want just 7 strains, 8 strains, you want a diversity of strains, because each bacteria has its own role in our health. So I suggest that, if you have never done any fermented foods, look for some fermented foods and start consuming them. Another important factor is not being able to eliminate toxins properly. We are all exposed to so many different kinds of toxins. It could be heavy metals, it could be chemicals and preservatives and so on and so forth. But what if our body is not able to eliminate it properly? What if we are a non-excretor? And if we are a non-excretor, then we have all kinds of problems that's going to follow, because now your body needs to deal with that. I mean, your immune system is working too hard to deal with all of that, that it sometimes, goes off the path and doesn't even recognize the food as food and starts causing problems because of that. So, of course, also not having a good functioning gut, which means not having bowel movements regularly, not putting good kinds of food, not drinking enough water, not drinking the right kind of water, drinking cold water. All of these things can have an impact on whether you develop food allergies or your kid develops food allergies at one point or another. So the next question is, how do we treat it? Is it easy to treat? It's not. It's not easy to treat. It's definitely, it all depends on what kind of food allergy you have or your loved one has, and what is the severity of food allergies, as well as where the problem is coming from. But it's doable. It's definitely doable when systematically done. So we need to figure out what is actually causing the problem and then addressing that problem. And the more we do that, the more results we see. So, what are the simple things that you can do at home to make sure you don't develop food allergies, so your loved ones don't develop it? Try to medicate only when it's absolutely necessary. In case of really, something that's life-threatening. So try not to do it otherwise. There are many ways to treat most of the acute infections naturally. You can refer to our website for protocols on healing naturally from many acute infections. It's on our Heal Naturally tab on our website, on the menu. Also, I suggest that you find a good homeopath or a naturopath in your area to help heal your body and not just put a band aid on any of the infections. Instead of giving antibiotics and fever reducers, treat them to heal. So all of these have a huge impact on the immune system and gut. So what we really need to work on is actually focusing on removing these kinds of things and also systematically trying to heal our body. It's not within the scope of this video to actually talk about all the methods through which we heal, but it is totally doable. We have had some cases of patients in Las Vegas, for example. One of the little girls that came to me, she was allergic to every nut, as well as she was also allergic to gluten, dairy, corn, soy, and if I remember it right, that's about it. And eggs, yeah. So I know it's a long list. It doesn't mean that it's such a short list, and we need to be worried about more. It's actually a long list. And the mother used to always panic every time she was at a party because she wasn't sure what she was going to get her hands on. Little girl, she was like 4 or 5 years old at that point. And the mother always had to worry about what she was eating, what she was doing at all times, where she was, because she shouldn't be exposed to any of those things. And it is so difficult to live a life like that, right? So mom developed anxiety, and mom developed some female organ issues as well during this process because of the amount of stress that she was dealing with. So we were able to treat her eventually, and she was able to eat almonds back again. She was able to eat peanuts back again, walnuts, cashews. So all of those foods were introduced back into her diet because her body healed. And she also had eczema. She also had recurrent infections. She was on so many antibiotics when she came to us. She had been on so many antibiotics when she came to us. So we were able to, undo all of those things and eventually heal her body completely, that she was able to eat all those foods. So it's a process, but it is doable. So if you or your loved one has food allergies, then definitely seek a professional and get some kind of a help to get over it. This is doable. Your body has amazing abilities to heal if we give it a chance, and try to prevent these things from happening by trying to treat your family naturally as much as possible. So if you have any questions, I am happy to take them now. So go ahead and post or comment your questions, and I would be happy to answer each one of them. Never knew these points about fermented foods. Thanks. Yeah, fermented foods have always been a part of our diets. In every culture, there is one kind of fermented food that was eaten. And so we just have to seek more of these fermented foods and eat them on a regular basis for our health, gut health. Oh, Christine, you're most welcome. I'm so happy. If we don't have hope, we have nothing. Our bodies are intelligent on its own. All we have to do is just stimulate that, and we'll be able to do the best that we can by actually enabling our body to heal, and we'll achieve our potential by doing that. So a question is there a difference between food allergy and food sensitivity? So yes, there is. Food allergies, typically at a blood level, we will see IgE antibodies. There are many different types of antibodies in the body. And these antibodies are produced depending on the kind of reaction that our body produces to a certain food, or even if it's pollen or any kind of foreign body. So if it's IgE antibodies are produced, they are called as food allergies. And when IgG antibodies are there but not IgE, it's called as food sensitivities. And also, in symptom-wise, when we talk about it, we think about it in terms of whether you're having a reaction that's like hives and swelling of the tongue, mouth, lips, throat, and so on and so forth, would be considered as food allergies, where you're producing symptoms right away after eating a certain food. Whereas food sensitivities could be more a reaction that is, that comes on later. It could be tomorrow or the day after, or it could be something that's mild. For example, one of the common things that we see with dairy, actually dairy, most people have food sensitivity even if they don't have food allergy, is that it will cause bloating, gas, it'll cause eczema, or it'll actually cause an aggravation of the eczema. And some people even have ear infections more often, or they'll have constipation because of that. So this is because their body is not really, it's still reacting to it, but it's more of a sensitivity rather than an immediate reaction to it. But in lactose intolerance, where people immediately have the runs, that's actually a food allergy. So I hope I, cleared that and explained it properly so you understand. So another question that comes in is, with full body healing, can homeopathy help with emotional issues that might be blocking full healing? Absolutely. I mean, I don't think there is any medicine that can actually heal emotional issues as homeopathy can. Whether it be grief, whether it be childhood issues, whether it be fear, anxiety, and so on and so forth. All of this have a physical place in your body. They are not just in our mind, because our mind itself actually exists in our body. It's not in our brain alone, as most of us think. It's not. It's all over the body. So definitely healing emotional issues is imperative to heal physical issues, and it's imperative to heal physical issues to heal emotional issues. They are very well connected, and we need to actually treat it as such. Oh, you're most welcome, Christine. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to end this Facebook Live, and I will see you next month on the first Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a good one.